Hi, this is Cynthia Thurlow. This is one of those short and sweet listeners' questions that I'm going to answer in long form format here on YouTube. And today it is all about Urolithin A. Questions came in from, hey, Alexis, is Urolithin A legit help for mitochondrial improvement, or is it just a fad supplement? As well as Mia, I am particular with supplements. Are timeline gummies legit? So here are my responses to these two questions, which are speaking about urolithin A, which is a signaling molecule. It's also a postbiotic, meaning that our gut bacteria make it when we consume specific types of polyphenols. Polyphenols are brightly pigmented fruits and vegetables. And in this case, the particular type that you can find urolithin A are in strawberries and pomegranates, but you have to eat a lot. And the most significant part of this is about 30 to 40% of us don't make enough urolithin A. And it has a direct effect on the changes that are going on in the gut microbiome as we are navigating perimenopause and menopause. Check out my book, The Menopause Gut, where I talk all about signaling molecules as well as many other aspects of supporting our bodies in perimenopause and beyond. There's a lot of reasons why I think urolithin A is one of those foundational supplements, along with like creatine monohydrate and magnesium and many others that you hear me talk about on the podcast or on social media with some frequency. And so we know as we get older, we are more likely to have dysfunctional mitochondria. Mitochondria are the powerhouses of our cells or organelles in particular. And so it's less common to see healthy mitochondria as we get older, especially if we are not doing all the lifestyle things to take care of our health. We know that we're also more likely to experience sarcopenia, which is this muscle loss with aging that really accelerates after the age of 40. This is why strength training is so important. And be with these changes and alterations in the loss of muscle mass, we are more likely to also see more visceral fat accumulation. And this is also a byproduct of some of the hormonal fluctuations that we see at this time as well. We're more likely to experience more inflammation, more oxidative stress, and significant gut microbiome shifts. You're going to see me looking at my paper because I'm going to be referencing some research as I'm having this discussion. So there's multiple things that impact why I think urolithin A is such an important signaling molecule to and postbiotic to support in our bodies. So we know that urolithin A actually enhances mitochondrial function. It activates something called mitophagy, which is this recycling process of disease disordered mitochondria. And in a double blind placebo controlled trial of older adults, 500 to 1,000 milligrams a day of urolithin A for 4 months significantly improved mitochondrial gene expression in muscle biopsies and increased endurance performance. I will link all these resources so you can take a look at these as well. Mitochondrial dysfunction can also be tied into declines in estrogen, which is what's happening as we are navigating the perimenopause to menopause transition. Sometimes we can see increases up to 20 to 30% of increases in estrogen in perimenopause, which can be a byproduct of something called a loop cycle, which is where we get a prolonged luteal phase without the benefit of ovulation. We know that when estrogen drops, mitochondrial decline also declines. And so this can contribute to energy issues, metabolic inflexibility. And we know that urolithin A can be part of repairing these dysfunctional mitochondria along with lifestyle and hormone replacement therapy. We know that urolithin A can be important for muscle support as well as exercise. In a randomized controlled trial in Cell study, middle-aged adults taking 500 to 1,000 milligrams a day of urolithin A improved leg strength, as well as a grip test and a 6-minute walk test, and muscle endurance versus placebo. We know that urolithin A promotes better mitochondrial density and energy output in muscle cells. So it's going to help with strength. If you follow me, you know that I've talked a lot about how muscle strength harkens the beginning of the loss of muscle. So before you even lose the muscle, you're losing muscle strength. This is why I don't let anyone in my house open up jars for me or help me lift things. I try to do everything myself because it's so important to maintain strength. We know that combating sarcopenia is something that we talk about a lot, not only on the podcast, but across social media, how important it is to maintain muscle mass. and our ability to, continuously be challenging those muscles, activating the satellite cells on the muscles themselves. Very, very important. We know that utilizing urolithin A or consuming it can improve inflammation and oxidative stress. Again, it goes back to estrogen. As we are losing estrogen, we are more likely to experience more inflammation. And urolithin A can help reduce specific markers like interleukin 6, tumor necrosis factor, and can upregulate specific pathways like NRF2. And in preclinical and human translational studies, urolithin A supplementation reduced CRP, which is a nonspecific marker of inflammation, and improved mitochondrial antioxidant capacity. So the whole concept of immunosenescence, which is aging of the immune system, inflammaging, that is really what we're speaking to here, and can help improve some of those symptoms that we experience in middle age. We know that urolithin A also improves gut health and the barrier. So as a postbiotic, urolithin A actually strengthens the intestinal lining. I've talked about how the small intestine is just one cell layer thick. It is easy to damage this lining, and improves tight junction integrity and reduces endotoxin leakage. So if we consume something, maybe a lipopolysaccharide, and we are exposed to food poisoning, as an example, those endotoxins can get into our bloodstream and can trigger some of the symptoms we experience when we have bad food poisoning, which I'm sure everyone watching this video has experienced once or twice. We know that it indirectly supports specific microbes like foundational keystone species like Akkermansia. I've done a whole podcast devoted to this with Dr. Colleen Cutliff. Highly recommend it if you want to learn more about this keystone bacteria. But we know Akkermansia is very important for endogenous GLP-1 production. It's very important and tied into short chain fatty acid production, very important for production of mucus. Mucus is important with that small intestinal layer. It helps, mucus is one of these things that we think of as being kind of gross, but it's very important for the functionality in our bodies. And then lastly, urolithin A may actually support brain health and cognition. We know that there's one research article I was looking at where it said in animal and emerging human data, urolithin A improves neuronal mitochondrial turnover and endothelial function, potentially lowering cardiovascular risk and enhancing cognitive resilience. That is an animal study. That is not yet done in human studies, but we could extrapolate that there might be benefits beyond what I've already referred to. Now, in terms of practical applications, I take 500 milligrams a day. My husband takes 1,000. I've been very transparent about how he was on 6 months of essentially chemotherapy for tuberculosis. If you've heard much about tuberculosis, it is hard to get. It's hard to kill. The drugs are very toxic. And so he's been taking a gram a day for well over 7 months, and probably will take that for a while. The other thing to think about is, best practices. You can take it with food. You can take it by itself. If you take it with healthy fats, it'll help slow the absorption. And I think that, it's not just the supplement. We have to do the lifestyle piece too. So making sure you're lifting weights, you're eating enough protein, you're adding in things like creatine monohydrate can all be very beneficial. Very well tolerated. You can take it along with hormone replacement therapy, other types of peptides and other longevity supplements. And so kind of a summary, number one, increases strength and endurance with muscle through mitophagy and mitochondrial biogenesis. It helps our metabolic health by improving insulin sensitivity, by activating those pathways like NRF2. It fortifies the gut barrier and reduces inflammation. And that is specifically those postbiotic short chain fatty acid signaling. And then the brain, it could improve mitochondrial turnover. Again, that was based on animal studies. So bottom line, it is helpful for our mitochondria. It's also helpful for the microbiome. Obviously, my favorite product is Timeline Nutrition. We'll put the link below where you can get 10% off with code Cynthia. Keep your questions coming. I'm loving these, and I'd love to hear what you would like to learn about more next.